Welcome to another episode of Educating Homebuyers, the podcast. I'm your host, Brady, and my mortgage team has over 9 years of mortgage experience here in Des Moines, Iowa. Whether you're buying your first home, upgrading, investing, or simply just curious about the market, this show is all about helping you and future homebuyers feel informed, educated, and comfortable as you take your next step. Each week, I sit down with real estate professionals, past clients, and local experts to unpack real stories, real advice, and what you actually need to know when buying a home today. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Today, I'm sitting down with a local insurance professional who helps anyone from business owners to luxury homeowners protect what they've worked so hard to build without all the red tape, jargon, or nickel and diming that people run into with the traditional insurance broker. With over a decade of experience leading high professional sales teams and designing risk strategies, he's built a modern approach into insurance that's high touch, high impact, and built on relationships rather than transactions. Whether it's a multi-million-dollar property or a growing healthcare practice, a family-owned business with a legacy on the line, his focus is on delivering solutions that don't just protect, they empower. Today, we're going to dive deep into the insurance world and what fits into the bigger picture for homeowners and investors, and frankly, what often people overlook when it comes to risk and why working with the right insurance partner can completely change the game when it comes to protecting your future. Rich Bales, welcome to Educating Homebuyers.
Thanks, Brady.
How are you, buddy?
Excited to be here. I'm good, man. I'm excited.
This is technically our second podcast we've had together. But,
yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah, appreciate you popping into the new and reformed Educating Homebuyers, and excited for you to share a little bit about your guys' group that you've got, just your background in insurance, and hopefully just a ton of valuable stuff for the clients and realtors that are listening. So
for sure. Yeah.
We'd love to start off, just give yourself a background, give a high level view of who you are, how you got into insurance, and what that's looked like for you.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm born and raised here in the Midwest. I would say I lived your pretty classic Midwest upbringing. Okay. Grew up, played sports, did that whole thing. Went on to Iowa State, ran track for 4 years. So especially during hate week, roll cyclones.
No.
So
this isn't going to get released for a couple weeks, but hopefully when this is out, Iowa's already beat Iowa State.
Right. So no, I am the classic guy. If they're not playing each other, I just like seeing
this
the
week
Iowa
we
kids.
are. So
yeah, but this week roll clones.
No. So, go Hawks.
So at Iowa State, funny enough, I was kinesiology pre-medicine, so that's translated perfectly to insurance.
Right to insurance. Yep.
Yeah. From there, I jumped straight into medical device sales out of college, which you can imagine was a massive learning experience for me, right? I went from, the only real job I'd ever held was being a lifeguard. Mm-hmm. And so from that to go straight into medical device sales, now I'm selling to orthopedic surgeons as a 21-year-old.
Right.
And you can imagine what they said when I tried to sell them things, right? So
sure went over great.
But it was really good for me, and it was a key point in my life where I learned, if you can show up with value, and specifically in the form of education, that goes a long ways. So really early on, I was fortunate the company that I was with, that was always their approach, was education first. Yeah. And it no longer is necessarily selling, it's just teaching. Right. And I loved that because I just couldn't stand like the car salesman type thing.
Shout out all car salesmen.
Shout out to the guys that do it because it's rough.
Yeah.
I had some severe awkward cold calling in my early days where we were timing it up where maybe a guy's walking into the building and you just so happen to walk into the building and introduce yourself, and it just makes my skin crawl now. Yeah. And that's why, I can confidently say our team does not cold call. Mm-hmm. We've never cold called. It's all been based on relationships and word of mouth referrals. Yep. Which is very rare in the insurance industry. So, I did that for 9 years, was a part of a huge team. We hired out, a ton of guys. I don't even know how many total. We had 6 states. Eventually that got condensed to 3 states, but they were pushing me to take on 16 states. Along the way, got married to my wife, Jacqueline. Mm-hmm. We had our first daughter, July, who's now 4, which is crazy. And, just perspective on life changed a lot with all of that. Yeah. Right. So, when I was young, I didn't come from much. And I think I just had this like outlook on life where I was like, I'm going to make money. I don't care what it takes. Like, that's it. Yeah. I'm going to be stable, secure, and no one in my family is going to worry about it again. Yeah. So I put these blinders on around medical device sales that that's the only way to do it because all I ever knew from 21 on. And slowly as I started, investing in real estate and things like that, just kind of the layers of life got peeled back and I went, man, there's a lot of ways to do a lot of different stuff. So, yeah, on a happenstance drive back from Des Moines, where my wife and I's family is from here, I jokingly said, it was like our third weekend in a row coming back. I was like, hey, should we just move to Des Moines? And without missing a beat, she said yes.
Yep.
And so within 6 months, we had, quit my job, quit her job. We had bought a house here. And I was on a mission to figure out how I was going to pay for the house. Yeah, so anyways, I got this vision that I'm going to make money, but I got no plan.
Yeah.
So I started kicking the tires on a lot of things. I looked at, becoming a real estate agent. I thought, hey, maybe that'd be great if I'm going to buy these properties and do flips and stuff like that. But I wasn't afraid of commission only because it's all I'd ever known. But just hitting that restart button every year with these quotas and stuff like that was tough for me. And they have some, cyclical business that it comes back, but it's very spaced out. Similar to you, where it might be 5-10 years before you see somebody again. And so I just kind of kept looking. My father-in-law, who's a financial advisor, really kind of educated me on what that looked like. But truth be told, I don't trust myself with other people's monies. I always joke that I would have had like 2 or 3 billionaire clients and then a crap ton of lawsuits with everybody else because I would have thrown their money away. So I said no on that. But the thing that clicked with me with that was residual income and having an asset to sell at the end.
Got it.
And so he was one who encouraged me. He's like, hey, check out insurance. And I said, well, that sounds like the most boring job in the world, but I'll look at it, right? So I interviewed all over the place. I mean, you name it. All the ones you'd see on TV, I interviewed with all the captive companies.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of had it with a big corporate culture. Like when I was young, I think it was a great thing for me. It gave me a lot of good training and, a team around you and stuff like that. But I was at a phase where, as you know, I'm a 4 a.m.er. I'm up late. I'm up early. I don't need somebody to tell me to go do things.
Yep.
So I just needed a platform where, maybe there weren't as many resources available to me, but I could just go and make it my own.
Yeah.
So I decided I was going to go independent. And for those listening, being independent in insurance means I've got contracts with a ton of different carriers.
Got it.
Right. So if you call me and say, hey, Rich, I want you to look at my home insurance, I take it, I send it off to a bunch of different carriers, and we decide who's the best fit for you.
Okay.
So I liked that I had the choice and I wasn't forced to go, well, if you're selling 10 home policies this month, you got to sell 5 life policies because I just didn't want to be forced to do something that I didn't feel was right for the client.
Got it.
So that was kind of the happenstance way I ended up in it. And then from there, it's just been, it's been a snowball. And I was wrong. It is not the most boring job in the world.
Depends on what you emphasize on, right? And I think that's the point that I would agree with. And I think that it relates both to us is like, if you looked at the nitty gritty of the product that we sell, one could say that is boring, right? Like nobody likes mortgages. Nobody likes insurance.
Yep.
But the cool part is the way that you and I have both chosen to build our businesses is that we get to build authentic relationships with the people that are either referring it or actually taking out the policies or the mortgages.
Yep.
That's the part that's exciting and that we fall in love with.
Totally. So and I think just getting that feedback from, the person, the business, the homeowner, the first time homeowner who has that that moment at the end where they're like, man, thank you so much because I was so lost. And just that extra 5 or 10 minutes to walk me through it on a video or whatever it is. Like, it just makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And I think that's the stuff that keeps you coming back and going, man, how do I do more of this? How do I impact more people?
I can tell you confidently with this podcast as a prime example, like the amount of times that I've released episodes and maybe there's no reactions online or you get maybe less views than you hoped for or whatever. Well, then today's episode went out and I got 2 texts from 2 different people that it made an impact on them.
Yep.
And like, that's just like, okay, well, maybe this stuff is worth it. Right. And that to me is what it's all about is like, we just want to make an impact. And it's cool that even if the stuff that you release, maybe you don't feel as confident with it or anything like that, or, even if you wake up and all your day to day, you're just jam-packed full of stuff and you never get that feedback I promise at some point, somebody's getting something from that, whether you get the feedback or not. So that's awesome.
I agree completely.
Okay, fantastic. So we've started and talked through like how you ended up in insurance. Let's dive into, some nuances of the insurance world that would be valuable for somebody listening. Like what things, when you get connected with a client for the first time, we're going to talk homeowners because selfishly, we deal with residential mortgages all the time. As much as you obviously have a focus on commercial too, would love to have you educate. So like day one, you talk to a client about getting homeowners insurance. What's your tips, recommendations, things that someone should look for beyond just that premium quote?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the interesting thing with the insurance market as it sits today, specifically in the Midwest, is rates are going crazy, right? We've all been impacted. I've been impacted. You've been impacted. We've seen it. And when that happens, inevitably people are scrambling to look for new agents, look for new policies, whatever it is. And that's created some really bad habits within the industry, right? Because at the end of the day, people in my shoes, having policies on the books is what pays your bills, right? So there's a lot of people scrambling to go, how do I keep clients? How do I win deals? And the way insurance has always been consumed is, the cheapest thing wins, right? Because you're in this process of buying a new house, you're negotiating prices with your offers, maybe contingencies at closed, all these different things. And homeowners insurance just feels like the one thing, like, man, if I could just get a little win here, it'd make me feel good that I saved a few bucks, right? But I would challenge people not to look at it that way because, once the transaction's over, that insurance thing is going to be the thing that stays there forever, right? And for most people, this is the biggest asset they have in their name. So, when you really zoom out and look at it, we have people go, man, I'm willing to slash the coverages to save $15 a month. That is like the smallest part of this transaction.
Yeah.
So the difference between paying, $1,800 a year and $2,200 a year in a real estate transaction is this much of the money that's moved.
Yeah.
Right. So don't let cheap be the driving factor. Make sure you understand what's in it because there are so many levers that can be pulled to make it cheaper.
Yeah.
But that expose you long term and can really have a devastating impact when you need it.
Yep.
Right.
We'd love to have you share an example of that and kind of dumb it down for the listener. So what he's getting at context wise for everybody listening here is how a price is driven. I don't want to steal your thunder here, but how a price is driven from insurance standpoint. That premium that you pay on an annual basis, technically for most people, it's paid with your mortgage. So it's that annual basis divided by 12. How that price is determined is based on how much coverage you have on the home that you're going to live in, right? What Rich is getting at here is don't sacrifice said coverages just to get a cheaper policy.
Yep.
Dive into that deeper just to kind of give everybody an insight into that.
Yep.
So what's some examples?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of really common ones that we see. And, this has been a great opportunity for myself throughout my time in my career to educate not only, clients, but real estate agents and try to make sense of this because you're never educated on it, right? So one of the most common things, and it's the first thing we do when we insure any building, is we build what's called a replacement cost estimate. So, let's say there's a house built in 1910. We see a ton of those around the metro. Built in 1910, maybe you can buy that house for, $200,000, let's say. Okay. But it's a big house. It's an old house. If that thing burns down and you got to rebuild it back brand new, I think the average here in Des Moines is like $220 a square foot on a new build. You are certainly not going to rebuild, an 1,800 square foot home for $200,000. Right. Right. So we see it all the time when people come to us with quotes from online or, call centers, stuff like that, where they go, hey, yeah, I got coverage for $200,000, which is what I bought it for. Yeah. Or maybe all the loans requiring me to have is $180,000. Right. If that thing burns down, blows away, anything like that, you could be left with a massive out-of-pocket expense. Or you could build your house back to this half the size. Right. Right. And so we saw that happen when Winterset got hit with tornadoes. That happened to a lot of people. Yeah. Right. So, if you haven't had a replacement cost estimate done on your house since prior to COVID, construction materials are up 60%, labor's up 50-some%. Yeah. You could have this massive piece missing here and have no clue. Yeah. So we always take the time in our video to walk people through that and point it out and say, hey, if there's anything in here you see you disagree with, let me know. But this is the reality of it. And a lot of times we'll get pushback because people are thinking oh, I could never sell it for that. But that's not what we're looking at.
Yeah, it's not the current house. It's the future house that we'd have to rebuild if a claim is needed.
Exactly. And then, with any insurance, it's really all it is risk tolerance. What are you comfortable with, right? So deductibles are something people don't pay a ton of attention to. But in the event house burns down, house, blows away, whatever it is, you're going to have a deductible, which is what you're going to pay out of pocket before your insurance kicks in. So one of the strategies people do to get the premium low is they go, hey, well, I'll just put you on a 2% wind and hail deductible. And so what that means is let's say we did our replacement cost. We said it would cost $400,000 to rebuild. Yep. 2% of that would be $8,000. Right. So we see a lot of these deals, especially in first-time home buyers, where they just come skidding across the finish line and that's all of their funds. And I have to have that conversation hey, if it hails in 6 months, do you have $8,000 to pay before insurance kicks in for your roof?
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't understand that. That's where it's like, hey, it won't kill you to pay an extra $30 a month, but it would crush you if you paid $8,000 out of pocket 6 months from now, right? And so that's where we really shy away from playing that game of like, hey, we're here to be the cheapest.
Yep.
Because the market has forced that conversation of we're the cheapest and we're the fastest, and that's it. And in our side, we're saying we're going to be the best, and we're going to be precise, and we're going to take our time to make sure you're put in a good position long term.
And that's so much more scalable. And it's like you have to think long term and think for your client's best interest, right? Like we have to protect ourselves. And if there's anything that industry professionals can learn from listening to this is like just be willing to take that time and not put your clients in a position that, you know, scraping the bottom of the barrel to get this thing done. That's not always the best solution. So I'm a big advocate for Rich's team and the way that they go about it. And for a client that's listening to this, if you get a quote and it seems oddly cheap compared to other quotes you get, there's probably a reason why. So be sure to note on that.
Yep.
Rich, you talked about in I kind of touched on in your intro, but kind of you talked about it in your kind of your introduction to who you are as well. But the big emphasis you guys put on is how you get your clients and how authentic it becomes and the art of referring, I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
Talk about how you've built that. And then for anybody listening that's in any sort of entrepreneurial position, whether it's a real estate agent or any sort of business owner, give some of your insight, because I personally learned a ton from you.
Yeah.
Talk about your art of referring and how you've kind of grown that to be what it is.
Yeah, for sure. So I think any professional that's, a realtor, anybody selling anything, whatever it is, you run a business, like the trick is you need as many people out there willing to bang that drum and shout your name from the rooftops as you can. Yeah. Right. And the strongest referral you will ever get is somebody else making a direct introduction, singing your praises and saying, hey, you have to have a conversation with this person. Right. And we see it all the time. I mean, you see it in real estate with things like Zillow leads. We see it, mortgage has versions of that. Insurance is a lead driven business. People pay thousands and thousands of dollars every month to have cold leads sent to them. And, you look at like what's a successful close ratio on those. And it's like, if you're hitting like 4 or 5%, that's knocking it out of the park. Right. Whereas, for us, we're 75% north of that. And it's because they come in understanding that we're not there just to be cheap. Right. So, it was really a, kind of a challenging, but very fun time when I entered the industry, because I had all this experience of, relationship building and creating value for these surgeons, and had to figure out like, okay, I'm just an insurance guy now, right? It's not this like sexy title. It's like, wow, you're another insurance guy calling me. What do you want? Right. Right. So I had to figure out pretty quickly, like, what's the industry look like? What is the conversation that's being had by other people in my industry? And how am I going to be different? And that was the thing I very quickly realized is, I'll keep saying it, cheapest, fastest. That was the thing that was like pounded in my head. Like, we use him because he's so fast. We use him because he's so cheap. And I started to finally, get the confidence to push back on that and be like, is that really all we expect? Yeah. Because I know I expect a lot more out of myself, and now my team, we hold them to a much higher standard than that. And, you've seen it. I joke around in my meetings where I say, like, look, I bet the next person who meets with you is going to talk about being cheap and being fast, and they're going to spit products at you and this and that. But I very quickly learned that it's the same in insurance as it is in any other industry. It's all about personal branding. Yeah. If you can create this personal brand where people, know you, like you, trust you, and are willing to refer business to you with no fear, then that's a product that can't be sold. Yeah. Nobody can take that from you ever, because you're the product. Right. So with that, I mean, my first year, I did the numbers. It was more than one coffee every business day. And that was, I was meeting with everybody, you name it, didn't matter the industry, whatever, but I was going to learn something, and I was going to take it, and I was going to implement it into my own processes to continue to try to sharpen that sword. And I try to do that every day. Yeah. Time's a little more scarce now where I can't do it as frequently, but just continuing to hone that craft of like, hey, if you refer me somebody, how do I make you look really, really good? And so that's where our primary focus went to, where it's going to be about the relationship and the education and, long-term follow-up, where you're not just set it and forget it and we never talk to you again. So yeah, and as I've built out a team and I continue to bring on team members, it's really important for me that I find the right people, that their heart is behind that same thing. Because, you know, in an industry, people get into it for the money, right? You want to make money. We all want to make money. Yeah. Of course I want to make money, but I want to do it doing the right things that fill my cup at the same time. So we're really picky on who we bring into that because we want that culture and the mission to maintain the same. Yeah. So into like the nitty gritty of it, like what that's looked like for us. So, you know, we try to give back to events that we think make sense. You know, we support things that educate people within our industries. We've implemented, you know, you've seen our bomb videos where I don't want to just email you a quote and then let you pick through it, because at the end of the day, the one thing the consumer knows to read is the price at the bottom. Yep. And then the rest of it is all insurance jargon that they just go, well, I don't know, you have a license, so I trust you. Yep. But what they don't know is it took me 3 days to study for that test. So the barrier of entry is extremely low, and there's a lot of people slinging stuff that's not the best thing for them, right? Yep. So instead of just emailing that quote, we're sending out a full video breaking down, you know, coverages, costs, options, that replacement cost estimate, and then letting them know, like, hey, if you need somebody else in your network, that's probably the most valuable thing we have is all of these superstars in all their different industries, and we'll connect you in a heartbeat. Right. And I think taking that approach, one, for the clients, they walk away educated, but two, it's created a ton more value in the marketplace for us, where it's like, you know, if somebody calls me and they don't have a 10 out of 10 CPA, banker, realtor, mortgage lender, whatever, like we're super intentional about getting in front of them. Yep. And I think that's really helped us make a splash in the market, because people then are like, wow, like
this guy's more than an insurance agent.
He's practicing what he preaches, right? Like, I'm not showing up to meetings going, hey, send me your next 5 leads because I want to quote them and that's how I'm going to win. No, I'm going to put you on that video and you're going to see how they get educated. Yep. And I can almost guarantee you're probably going to learn something from that video too, right? And now maybe you can help protect your clients a little bit better moving forward.
When I think as someone who does actively refer you guys business, it's a reflection of me too, right? And I think that's the important point that people listening should take home is, like, if you're going to refer somebody else, you want them to be a positive outlet and reflection of you as the person that referred them, right? 100%. And that's something you guys have done so incredibly well, is like, I know confidently every time I send a client over, you're going to represent them at the level that I would want to. And how much better of an experience is it for a client when they have a great insurance agent, they have a great mortgage lender, they've got a great realtor, like we're all creating this funnel and this team to represent this client and build them up amidst this transition. Yep. And that goes beyond just insurance and mortgage lending. Like, if you're a business owner and you're a restaurant owner, how imperative is it to have good staff, the waiters and waitresses that are taking care of your business? Like, those are the people in the trenches that are doing it, right? And so that's the big point that I think that we'd love to have everybody take home from this is, like, you want to build a productive team and be, you know, reflecting and surrounding yourself with people who represent you the way you want to be.
100%. And the last piece of that I'll leave you with is, you know, one of the ways we were growing so fast is we're in such an aging industry. You know, the average age in our industry is 63, 64, something like that. And so we were getting all these calls from people going, man, this just went up 40% again. And I've been with this guy for 20 years, so I feel bad, but like, I just can't stand it anymore. And immediately I put myself in those shoes where it's like, you know what, if all of a sudden we have 10,000 clients, how will we stay ahead of that, right? Yeah. And so I think the beauty of, you know, being younger in the industry is we understand technology and we can utilize it and leverage us. You know, you talk about AI, you talk about those things. You know, we've got little things that trigger things to take you to market, right? So if your rates ever go up more than 15%, we find out a month before it renews, they're automatically going to market. You're going to video before you even know that policy is coming up for renewal, right? And so we're using technology to make that touch point and automatic thing, and not something that has to be triggered by you calling in and going, Rich, what the heck's going on? Yeah. So, you know, ultimately it's the front end is education heavy. And then from then on, it's high touch, high intentionality. And we want to forever keep you in the best spot you can be. Right.
Without them feeling like they have to. Like, I can tell you confidently as one of your clients, like, that's something that I want. I want the peace of mind to know that, like, if something ever goes south with my policy, I've got you in my corner that's going to make sure that either the price is in line with where I want it to be, or if something by all means happened to my house, I don't want to have to wait on hold with the online insurance company 100%. That holds my policy. I want to call you and say, hey, Rich, figure this out. I got a flipping hole in my roof that I've got to go take care of. I want you to get my money that I'm going to use to pay to fix that hole.
Yep.
So that's the other sales point that I would tell you to call Rich and his team, is because you've got this group of people in your corner that care enough about you to make sure that you're taken care of if anything were to come up. And also, like he said, monitoring the price of your policy on your behalf, so that if there's ever a price increase, even if there's nothing they can do about it, you're going to be informed and aware of that change as to why it's happening, and let you know if there's anything they can do to fix it. So
you got it.
Tons of valuable stuff. I think that selfishly, we're really good friends, and we could sit here and talk for probably 4 or 5 hours and come up with all different valuable stuff, frankly, for people to watch. But I would just want to say thanks for motivating me, for being a resource for my clients, my referral partners, my realtors. I want to make sure that everybody watching this knows that Rich and his team at Avanti Group are the best in the business. If you guys ever have any insurance questions, feel inclined to reach out to him and his team. I'll be sure to link all of your information in the description down below. But yeah, Rich, just thanks for everything. I always like to leave the floor open and not to put you on the spot, but is there anything you'd like to end or leave everybody with? Otherwise, we'll kind of wrap things up.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I've said it all, but I would just emphasize to everyone, the cheapest insurance can be the most expensive sometimes, right? Like, you deserve more than that. Let somebody do some due diligence on it, and make sure you understand it before you actually pull the trigger on it.
I love it. Valuable stuff. If you guys are looking for insurance, be sure to reach out to Rich and his team. Thanks again for tuning into another episode of Educating Homebuyers, and we'll see you guys next time.